Hello and welcome to Inside the Piranha Club. We'll be taking a look back at Max Verstappen's first victory in more than 3 months in what was only one real talking point though from the Italian Grand Prix. Those McLarens and their desire to go racing. I'm Rebecca Clancy.
And I'm Ben Hunt.
Do you like my intro?
Yeah, that was funny.
Right.
Yeah.
Should we start with Verstappen? Because it was a mega weekend, actually, from him. Start to finish. Pole sitter with an incredible lap. Fastest ever lap. He won the race, fair and square, absolutely on merit, beating the McLarens by nearly 20 seconds, which is the largest winning margin of the year. It was only his third win of the season, which is a bit surprising. He hasn't won since last time out in Imola.
Yep.
So maybe it's the pizza pasta?
Maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? It was the fastest race in history.
Thank heavens.
Is, actually it was quite a good race, wasn't it?
It's pleasing the youngsters, right?
Oh, give it a rest, you. Honestly. But I have been asked this question a million times. So for the benefit of our wonderful listeners, the fastest race in championship history, what it means is the average speed. So the average speed of Max Verstappen over the course of the hour and 13 minutes, which is all it took him to win, was 250.706 kilometers an hour, which, rough maths, translates at 155.791 miles per hour, which is 2 miles an hour faster than the previous record set by Michael Schumacher for Ferrari, which was also at Monza. There you go. You know I love a stat.
Brilliant. Yeah, well done.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a very good weekend, wasn't it, for Max? I thought that the pole lap was great. I mean, that's why we love Monza, isn't it? Just that brutal speed.
The tempo of speed.
Yes, and it is wonderful for that very reason. And great that we can see these cars and appreciate them putting that sort of level of performance, because we don't know how next year's going to be. Maybe they're quicker. But no, really good weekend, solid weekend. What was interesting was I was at Imola last time he won, and of course that was under the Christian Horner era. And I remember at the time the relief within that Red Bull camp that finally they'd managed to get a win based purely on performance. And it felt like it has been a long time, but it felt like for me there was more of that relief again. This was the first win for the new boss, Laurent Mekies, and I think he was quite a relieved man. Yeah, learned my lesson. But I think he was relieved. I think there was a lot of relief faces that finally they've got that win. So pretty good. I think this is good as well for confidence and perhaps keeping it interesting for the rest of the season.
Well, I was going to say, is this a bit of a resurgent Red Bull? So Tsunoda in the other car didn't get the floor upgrade that Verstappen got. You have to be clear with Monza, it's very track specific, the specs that they bring in, the low downforce because of the high speeds, how they run the car, the setup. Actually, I think there was a lot of talk over the weekend, wasn't there, from Red Bull, that they weren't really happy with the setup, and Verstappen basically just came along and said, look, doesn't need to drive perfect, but it feels pretty good to me. I'll make this work. And he did.
Yeah, make changes, didn't himself.
Yeah.
The wing. It was his call. Again, but if we're going to touch on Tsunoda, very underwhelming again all weekend.
You can't use that word. That word does not apply to Tsunoda this weekend.
What, underwhelming?
Yeah, we're saving that for Antonelli.
Okay, fine. Right, didn't read the script. Yes, we'll get on to him in a minute. But okay, I wasn't very impressed with Mr. Tsunoda. I think that there's still more to come. I think as well. I mean, all the rumblings.
Is there more to come?
I hope there is.
From Tsunoda or from the news from Red Bull that he's getting swapped out?
This is the difficult thing, isn't it now? It's become commonplace to swap drivers and, chop them in and out. And, Isaac Hadjar was asked about...
Start my F1 career, they never chopped drivers like this, did they?
It does seem like there's a bit more of a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, football management, I often talk about football, but football management's like that now, isn't it? If you have 2 or 3 bad games, then people are calling for you to be sacked. And it feels like in this world of instant success and the demands being placed upon people to turn stuff around, that if you're not quick enough, that's it, you're done. I mean, look at the start of the year. We had Jack Doohan driving an Alpine, and crikey, that feels like years ago, right? So it's a brutal environment, but I do feel like he's got to step up. The reason I say this is because you've got some really talented youngsters in F2. Red Bull have got a couple in their own stable. Also, understand looking at Alex Dunn as well from McLaren. So they've got 4 seats. We think that, or we know that Max is going to stay. What happens in the mix for the others? But yeah, let's see.
Tsunoda has scored points once in the last 9 races. You can't tell me that Helmut Marko is keeping him in that seat.
Yeah, yeah. Well.
Okay, let's get to the main talking point of the race, which was obviously the McLarens. Lando Norris was out in front. There was a conversation that went on about the pit stops. Normally, the car at the front gets preferential treatment through the pit stops. The discussion was that Oscar Piastri, who was running behind him in third, would actually stop first. Norris agreed on the understanding that it didn't mean an undercut, meaning Piastri would get in front of him after the pit stops. What do you know? Piastri stops. Norris stops the lap later. It's a slow stop for Norris, a very slow stop. There's an error with the front left jack and front left wheel man, sorry. And as Norris is cruising out of the pit lane, his teammate comes flying past him. Team orders obviously come into play, as they have done many times within the last year or so, even slightly longer, looking back to Hungary last year. Piastri is asked to swap. Now, his comments I thought were very interesting in the heat of battle. And whatever they say after the race and the adrenaline is worn off is straight out of the playbook. But it's what they say when the adrenaline's flowing that I always think is interesting. And he said, "We talked about this. A slow stop is just part of the sport. I don't understand what's changed." So my question to you isn't about the fairness actually within McLaren at the moment, but isn't it getting a bit ridiculous? And where does it end?
Well, for me, it feels like they were making it up as they're going along, and they keep saying that they've got these rules of engagement, or they've spoke through all these different scenarios. But when it comes to the heat of the battle, they're still undecided on the pit wall, and that I felt was awkward. It was a little bit embarrassing, some degree, wasn't it? I felt like Norris felt awkward being on the podium, and of course he did get booed by some of the fans that felt like he didn't deserve to be there, and I think that he knew that. It's kind of, sometimes if you luck into a result, you appreciate that you're fortunate, but this was deliberately manufactured to serve him, and I think that the feeling that he got was that it was all a bit hollow and a bit fake. Neither of those drivers want to be in that scenario. They want to win on merit. Of course, they weren't fighting for the win, so second is obviously best, but just a little bit awkward all round. Again, poorly managed.
Yeah, so it only took 3 points out of the championship lead, so it's 31 points now between Piastri, the leader, and Norris in second. I didn't feel like the boos were actually directed at Norris. And I know it was when he came onto the podium, but there was a part of me, and perhaps it was just my feeling watching the race unfold and how McLaren played it out. They were booing McLaren because it feels like it's got a little bit silly now. So what is sport and what are you just kind of making up? So, for example, if you want to talk about fairness, Lando Norris's engine blew last time out in Zandvoort. So does Piastri have to retire? Because that wasn't Norris's fault.
Yeah.
That was a team error. So does Piastri have to pull over, or does he have to kind of let a few cars go by so the margin isn't so big? Where does the fairness level, where is it lying? And they spoke about it in the press conference last night, saying, we're recording this on Monday, by the way, saying that, if there had been several cars between us, we wouldn't have swapped, but it was in our control. And you're sort of starting to think, this doesn't feel very sporting anymore. There's actually an element to this that is starting to get quite uncomfortable.
It's the messiness, isn't it? And trying to do the right thing and be seen to be doing the right thing. Sometimes you have a devil on your shoulder, don't you, or an angel, and you're trying to listen to both of them. And ultimately, this is what happens when you try and keep both happy. You can't. And unfortunately, you may make a decision which impacts the other one. On this instance, I think they got it wrong.
Yeah, actually, as producer Miles rightly points out, it was his chassis, apparently, not his engine.
Well.
Still not quite sure we understand that one. It doesn't feel like we've got 8 races to go now. It doesn't feel like this can continue. They were very cordial afterwards in the green room, the cool-down room, in the press conference afterwards. It was actually Max Verstappen who was kind of clearing the ice by sort of being totally fed up, pretty much. But it can't continue, can it? Because 31 points, 8 races left, that is a very comfortable cushion for Piastri now. So, I've got another stat for you. You ready? The Italian Grand Prix was Piastri's 34th consecutive points finish in a Grand Prix. That is the 3rd longest in history, behind Verstappen on 43 and Lewis Hamilton on 48. And to show you how dominant Piastri has been this season, that 3rd place finish in Monza was his lowest finish since Canada 6 races ago. So he has been utterly brilliant this season, I would say. But how much longer does he listen to the pit wall when they are saying to him, give up a race win because Norris got a bit of bad luck? Or could you just... And actually, this did happen in qualifying, I thought was quite interesting. Norris was in danger of getting knocked out of Q2. Piastri was asked to give him a tow. He did. But can that continue? Or is Piastri now so confident in himself, he's just thinking, yeah, all right, you can have it. Take the tow. I don't care. I'm going to beat you anyway.
Maybe. I mean, I'd like to think that was the case. I was just, when you mentioned the points finish, I was trying to remember the last time that he finished outside of the points. Miami, when Lando Norris won his first Formula One race.
Norris has finished 2nd every time Verstappen has won this season. That's only 3 times, to be fair. Wow. But there you go. There's another stat for you.
Gosh, superb. I think that, Oscar Piastri obviously backs himself in this. He's a very determined and dogged character. The answer that he keeps saying is, I need this team, so I will do what the team tells me. It's just when he takes matters into his own hands and says, actually, I'm not doing that. Or, one of our friends, Bec, said, I'd have had a radio failure when that message come through about swapping the positions around. And that's the sort of games that may well happen. Once that does happen, then that relationship is probably toast. Because at the moment they still get on. As you mentioned, it was all very cordial in the green room because they're still balancing it. Maybe we're being too harsh on McLaren. Maybe they are managing and they are preserving this relationship, and this is why they're storming away with the Constructors' Championship, and what will be in the Drivers' Championship, because after all, prize money's in the Constructors. So maybe we're being a little bit harsh on them, but for me, it just, whether it's right or wrong, it just felt a little bit empty for everyone that he was stood there in that second place.
It was really unsatisfying.
Yeah.
But another thing I've been thinking about with this is, because this is the last year with these cars, 2026, we get an enormous rule change. No one really has any idea about what's happening next season and who's ahead. Loads and loads of chat about Mercedes are looking good, and then you talk to Mercedes about it and they keep saying, how does anyone know what's going on? So if you're Oscar Piastri, they obviously know a lot more about what's happening next year with the McLaren, but they don't know where it stands against the other teams. So he could be thinking, this is it. This might be my one and only shot. So if I piss off the team, so be it. I'm walking away with a championship.
Yeah, quite right. Yeah, I think you're right. And, yes, he's 24. He's still got plenty of years in him. But this is his best chance at winning a championship. And it may well be his only chance to win a championship. So, we've seen how cycles in Formula One work. And it's all about, once you're at the top, maintaining and being at the top. But everything changes next year. So it is a big task for McLaren. No one knows really how it's all going to shake out. So could he take matters into his own hands? Yeah, very much so. But we've still got 8 races to go.
Yeah, I mean, we do need them to fall out a little bit, surely, don't we? Come on.
I think it's inevitable that they will.
Yeah, of course it is. To prove the dominance of McLaren, they could win the Constructors' Championship at the next race in Baku.
Wow.
That is just utterly mad, isn't it? So they could win it with 7 races to go.
Goodness me.
That is how nonsense it is. So they could just not turn up for the last 7 races and they'd be done.
Well, I mean, that bodes well
Happy
for
days.
next year, doesn't it, for them? Because obviously they can turn off development and, focus on 26.
Yeah, because it's not like Verstappen's breathing down either of the drivers' necks for a
Yeah,
result, right? Oh, not
yeah.
at the moment.
Well, I mean, I wasn't aware of that. That's my favourite stat of this
There you
podcast.
go. I just throw them at you and hope one of them sticks.
No,
There
that
you
was
go.
a good one.
No, you can have that.
Yeah, I mean, I like Azerbaijan as a race.
Yeah.
I know, it's not massively popular with the tourists, but it's actually quite a cool track. That long
Very cool
straight,
track.
and it usually throws up a good race, doesn't it? Which
Always
unfortunately
does.
we didn't have last weekend.
Yeah.
Fairly, I mean, luckily that McLaren incident gave us stuff to talk about because otherwise it was a bit of a procession, wasn't it? Not much overtaking.
Well, should we talk about Ferrari actually very quickly? Because I thought Charles Leclerc started fourth was absolutely brilliant off the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like the Leclerc of old. He had some, it must be the home boost, the Tifosi there, Ferrari's home race. But I thought he was brilliant those first couple of laps. And then, as always often happens, the Ferrari falls away and it becomes almost a passenger in the race and no one really pays attention to it. And it wasn't great from Ferrari at their home race, was it? Fourth and sixth.
Yeah, good recovery from Hamilton, wasn't it? A little bit. Well,
It was, yeah.
Say good. He recovered from 10th.
Yeah.
10th or 11th?
10th, yeah, he started 10th,
10th.
yeah.
And, decent recovery from him. I think that they left a lot happier than they arrived. Although they didn't score mega points, I think that there was still improvements compared to obviously what happened in Zandvoort, which was a total disaster. So
Yeah, the double DNF.
yeah, so they're moving in the right direction. Usually they have something special though, don't they, for Monza? Is that it? Is that it now for the rest of this season?
Yeah.
Who knows?
It feels like it. Hamilton said that it's still an alien driving style, and he said the podium is off the cards for a while. It's
There
not
we go.
great from him, is it? I think he's basically written off this season and is hoping for better next year.
Yep, I think that's a fair assessment. I still maintain that I still think he'll win something. It will, some result will pop in there. I just feel it. But that's probably. You was accused of being biased. I'm not being biased, but I'm just. I just think that he's
No,
still.
I was
got
accused of being
something-
biased in a comment.
Yeah.
But it was you who said it.
Really, is that right? Yeah, there we go. But I don't know that I'm
Whatever.
not being biased, but I just believe that there's something in him that will still, we'll still see a win this year.
He's still one of the most immense competitors you'll ever meet.
Yeah,
'Cause,
and
like,
as Miles said, he won the China Sprint race, so he has won once. But yeah,
Yeah,
a
well,
full Grand Prix.
a proper Grand Prix. You stole the word earlier. Underwhelming. Let's move on to talk about
okay.
Hamilton's former team, Mercedes. Toto Wolff. It was pretty brutal from the Mercedes team principal. He said the whole race from Kimi Antonelli, the 19-year-old, was underwhelming. He started 6th. He had a terrible start, dropped straight down to 10th. He was then shown the black and white flag for repeated track limit offences. Then he had a 5-second penalty for driving erratically in a battle with Alex Albon in the Williams, which he ultimately lost out on. And he finished 9th.
Yeah, not great. I mean, what's going wrong there? What do we think? I mean,
It's been a very bad European season.
well, the start of the European season was that Imola race, wasn't it? That was the one where things started going wrong, and by his own admission, and Mercedes, they were like, "Look, we got too much. We gave him too much to do. There was all the university kids coming, all his classmates, friends.
Yeah, that was too much.
Lots of activations on the stage, this, that, and the other. And the idea was that they would dial it down for Monza, which I believe they did.
They did, yeah.
And he wasn't doing as much of that. But it does feel like maybe the pressure's getting to him. It's
Promoted a year too early. I mean, these
Possibly,
European he's raced at all these tracks before. He should know them.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he crashed here last year at Monza in his first outing. He crashed again this weekend.
It's unusual for Toto Wolff to be so direct. I don't ever remember him
No.
sort of being so...
Especially such a young kid as well.
Yeah, he's not been like that with George or Valtteri or Lewis or even Nico Rosberg. When Lewis and Nico were fighting and taking chunks of bodywork off each other. So it is a strange tactic. Maybe it's what he feels like he needs to be a bit more direct with Kimi, just to sort of give him a little bit of a rocket, so to speak.
The new Helmut Marko, as it were.
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
Although he does still exist, Helmut Marko, in case you're wondering. Just a quick note to finish. Oliver Behrman, or Ollie Behrman, I should call him as he's actually known. He is facing a race ban. He had a 10-second penalty for colliding with Carlos Sainz in Monza. 2 penalty points on his licence, which means he is now just 2 points away from an automatic ban. If you get 12, if you're based in the UK, you get 12 points on your licence, you get a driving ban for significantly longer than 1 day. But if you get 12 on your licence as an F1 driver, you automatically miss the next race. They run in a 12-month cycle, and his don't fall off until early November, which means he's got 4 races to navigate without picking up any points. Because let's face it, you don't really ever get 1 penalty point, do you? So any major incident, that is not good news for the Brit.
Yeah, that's a tricky one, isn't it? It's hard being in the mix in the middle of the pack, driving, looking in your mirrors and not blocking anyone. But when you know that you're facing that race ban as well, that's another level of pressure on top of you, which sometimes can force you into a mistake. It's a tricky one. I think it's going to be a hard tightrope to walk, that one.
Verstappen was facing it earlier this year and he managed it.
He did, but then, much more experienced, and he was able to negotiate his way out of that. I don't know how well Ollie's going to be doing in terms of steering clear of all that trouble, especially in tricky circuits. Azerbaijan, we love it, but of course that usually leads to a bit of chaos.
It's always chaos. Apart from the first ever race, after that there's always been chaos.
When Singapore's a tough one as well, isn't it? So,
well, they don't get any easier. Now we go to the flyaways, really. I mean, some people do consider Baku to be part of the European season. If you've ever flown to Baku, I promise it's a flyaway. It really takes ages to get there. So it gets more grueling now. We're starting to head back into the triple headers. That final one is an absolute killer. The Vegas, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, having done it, it is brutal. It just gets tougher from here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Haas will be thinking if Oliver Behrman gets the penalty. What do they do? Is Kevin Magnussen still on call?
That'd be a very popular figure back in the paddock.
Yeah, I mean, I assume they do have access to Ferrari Young Driver program.
Yeah, they must do, right?
So maybe that might be an option. But and they've got the Toyota partnership. Maybe that's something that might work. I'm not sure. Just thinking here, but I hope it doesn't happen because I've really enjoyed Ollie Behrman this year. I think it's great. He always turns up with a big smile on his face, and he's very engaging. Really, really likeable character. And he's done quite well, so it'd be a shame if he does miss a race. But, as I said before, I think it's going to be a bit of a hard tightrope to walk, trying to keep out of all that danger.
Any other business from the weekend? Probably a race to forget unless you're Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I think it's one that we all move on from, isn't it? Good result for Max. Bit of a funny one for McLaren. Disappointing one from Aston Martin's perspective. We don't talk about them enough, I think.
Really?
Well, I think there needs to be a little bit of digging now. I think we need to figure out what exactly is going on there.
They're all focused on the Adrian Newey 2026 car, aren't they? No one really cares about this season anymore.
It seemed that way, I think.
You and I are going to Goodwood Revival this weekend. We can ask
true.
Adrian Newey while we're there.
That's true, yes, we can.
We will be recording a special pod from Goodwood. If you're into F1, there are loads of F1 people there. We'll try and get as much gossip for you as we possibly can. And then we will be back with, as I say, the flyaways. Baku kicking us off for the next run of races. We do have a break now, as I say, and then we'll be back. So in the meantime, if you have enjoyed this podcast, please do rate and review us. It really does mean a lot, unless you leave us 1 star and call us British bias. We've had it our whole careers.
Yeah, don't do that.
Join the queue. If you want to drop us any questions, please do at Inside the Piranha Club. And if you've ever wondered what we look like and you're listening to us on Spotify, you can now also watch the full podcast.
What a terrible thought.
You can also at Inside the Piranha Club. We try and keep it as simple as possible. But until the next time, thank you so much for listening, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks.